Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Raj, we're just going to jump right into this because this is breaking news. The first trade of the trade deadline season, the Cleveland Cavaliers sending DeAndre Hunter, a name that was potentially linked to the Lakers, to the Sacramento Kings for Dennis Schroeder, a former Laker, and Keon Ellis, another guy that was linked to the Lakers,
Yeah.
in a three-team deal that includes the Chicago Bulls getting Dario Saric into future second-round picks. So it looks like the first trade of this season is this team trade. The most notable names: DeAndre Hunter going to the Kings, Keon Ellis going to the Cavs. This was a cost saving move. The Cavs were in the second apron looking to shed some salary tax, potentially get out of the second apron altogether. And so they had been linked to names with teams, including the Lakers, who had big expiring salaries to potentially help them reach their cost savings. And that's where we're going to start the pod off. But actually, it wouldn't be right if we just jumped right into it. I've already set the primer to the intro. Before we
Yes.
start, how are you doing, my friend? The Lakers are on the
Ah,
road. You've had a nice break. Are you ready
yes.
to get back in the arena or what?
My break's not over yet. I have a few more days left. They don't come back until Thursday. So
Yes.
I'm gonna continue to enjoy being home. It's fun, getting back, watching a game on the couch, being able to watch different things that you don't really get to catch live. And as you know, because me and Vinay are neighbors, I would say in some sense, not
Yeah.
right next door, but pretty close.
Pretty
The
close.
drive to LA is not something you want to do on a consistent basis. So it's been nice not having to make the trek out there. Obviously, with no games, there is also no practices, so there's just no reason for me to really drive out there. But I am good, excited. Something always happens when the Lakers play the Knicks. Last year, it wasn't this. The magnitude of trade was a little bit bigger, but last year when the
Yeah.
Lakers played the Knicks, we had the
Yes.
gigantic trade that came through while we were live. This one not as big, but we'll see. The week is still gonna get started pretty soon. But I'm doing well. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I just came back from LA. I went to a ramen spot. I went
Oh,
to a
okay.
ramen spot in North Hollywood that I really, really like. It's called Gokuku. It's in
Mm,
like Studio City. Uh, they have really great ramen. Hopefully, the person who works there hears this and decides to give me free ramen next time I go there. In case they hear it, but it's a really great place. And so I just went and had dinner, drove back home, got settled in, grabbed my water bottle, ready to do this pod with you, and then the trade hit the
y-
timeline,
y-
and I was just like, "Oh, we gotta talk about this." So we're already into it. We have some good timing when it comes to these
we
trades, and
we
us
do.
being
We, yeah, Shams checks to make sure we're recording, and then decides to drop these
I
right
love
when
it.
right before we record. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He gives us good stuff. So obviously we're going to talk about the other stuff that we have on the agenda today is to talk about how the Lakers have performed in January. They finished January 9-7, which I would say is mediocre. That's kind of the way I sort of described it when I titled the pod. And we're going to talk a little bit about trade deadline targets. And then we're going to have like this conversation about Giannis and this gamble that the Lakers might be trying to take going into this summer. Because one of the things I think Dan Wojcicki just recently reported as soon as this DeAndre Hunter story broke was one of the reasons why the Lakers weren't involved in this trade for DeAndre Hunter was because they're trying not to carry any salaries beyond this season. So they're really trying to keep that cap space really open. So it's interesting to see um, that be the immediate report that comes out from a local LA person, local LA media connected media writer. As soon as this trade happens, I think that's been pretty consistent messaging throughout the season. But
Hmm.
before we go into the ramifications of how this affects the Lakers, because I have some very uh, strong feelings, Raj, as you know, about this method that the
Yes.
Lakers are possibly attempting. That we'll get into when we talk about it. But
Yeah.
any thoughts on this trade, just for the Kings, for the Cavs?
I like
Chicago
this for
reason, but yeah,
yeah,
Kings
I
or Cavs.
mean, the Bulls Kings I feel like are involved together in some deal every year that is just changing different chairs on a Titanic that's going nowhere. Every Bulls Kings trade is like, why did you do that? Why did Levine go from the Bulls to the Kings? Why did
Yeah,
DeRozan go from the Bulls to the Kings? But I do like this for the Cavs. They are 29 and 21. Kind of an underwhelming season. I think we just saw them recently. Donovan Mitchell is one of my favorite players in the league. I think he's better than people give him credit for. All the other guys have kind of had up and down years. Garland has missed a bunch of time. Mobley hasn't taken that leap, but I love the Keon Ellis addition for them. I think they've needed just another ball hawk type of guard who can hit, catch, and shoot threes.
mhm,
Dennis Schroeder, I know you're not his biggest fan, but Dennis Schroeder, I think, comes in to be the Lonzo that they, like Lonzo was signed kind of in
yeah,
that role. And I think Dennis can at least come and do that. I don't think he's probably paid more than he would be for that role. And then the Kings, I don't ever really understand what they're doing. So, I mean,
yeah.
I guess DeAndre Hunter is a nice player to fit in whatever's going on in Sacramento. I would have just rather kept Keon Ellis, and this season is done for anyway. They are X amount of games out of any chance to play in. They've used this season to play Westbrook, DeRozan, Levine, all these guys who are really established players in a place that is looking for established young guys. So I don't really understand. Again, I don't understand the vision that they're doing. So they have some nice guys. They just beat the Lakers recently, but I like it for the Cavs a lot. But I think they're 3 games back of the 2 seed. I think in the Eastern Conference. So and it's as open as it ever will be. If you're an Eastern
Mhm.
team, like this is the year to go for it. This isn't really a go for it type of trade in terms of pushing all chips, but like no Halliburton for the Pacers, no Tatum for Boston. The Knicks are probably the best team in the East, but they have their own foibles that they're gonna have to deal with. I like this for the Cavs. Where are you at?
Yeah, I actually have a difference of opinion. I don't like this for the Cavs. I think Keon
Mm,
Ellis is a good addition for the Cavs. I don't think
okay,
Dennis Schroeder is a good addition for the Cavs. I don't think. I mean, unless they really needed scoring punch off the bench, which he can provide, but he's also just one of those guys who doesn't really get his teammates involved the way that you would want a player to do it. I think you prefaced it very nicely. I'm not a fan of Dennis Schroeder, and
I say you're not
with
his
the reason
biggest fan. Yes,
not his biggest fan, yeah. And the core reason for that is because I think he's a small shooting guard trying to market himself as a point guard and sort of masquerading as a point guard. That's why he's always asking to be the starting point guard for teams. And then teams
sure.
quickly find out he's not a point guard. And that's why Russell Westbrook took his starting position midway by
Sure,
like December on the Kings.
sure.
And now he is now again yet again not even finishing the season with the team that originally signed him, which has become a theme. So
Yeah.
for the Cavs, I really don't know. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to do outside of just get some tax savings. I think Keon is a good get for them in the long term if they decide to move Schroeder in the offseason. That experiment does work. I think it's a nice risk play for the Kings. Like DeAndre is not that much of a financial commitment. I don't like you giving up Keon to make that trade happen, but
Yeah.
it kind of is what it is. I will say this: this should hypothetically eliminate them from the Jonathan Kaminga sweepstakes, which was
Ooh,
like a heavily
interesting.
rumored thing at the time. So I'm not sure now, like what happens with that, the interest in Kaminga. Obviously, Kaminga's hurt, but like what happens with the interest in Kaminga now if Sacramento removes itself? Like, so I'm curious to see what ripple effects this trade has with other teams too as well.
Would you say Keegan Murray and Hunter play the same position, or do you think they are wings that can play next to each other? I, that's the one part of this also for the Kings that I don't really understand either. I feel like I love Keegan Murray. Maybe they have a difference of opinion. I know his leap wasn't as pronounced as it was supposed to be. I think health
Mhm.
is a part of that too. He hasn't been as healthy as supposed to be. But yeah, with the Kings, that's the other part of it. That's a good point about Kaminga. I think they still have what Monk's salary they can move for it, which seems like the Warriors are not interested in Malik Monk, or else I think that deal is probably done already. But Yeah, that's the part with the Kings that I'm not really sure, but I've stopped trying to understand what logical sense that Ranadive is is pulling up there with Jeremy Lamb, I guess, in the war room as well. So
A-
whatever's going on
As
there. You have more
as we
information on
always
this than I
say,
do.
as we always say to our fellow brown folk brethren that are in the industry, please, if you need a second opinion, you can reach out to me or Raj, and we'll just give you a
Right,
very non-biased,
right,
objective suggestion
right.
as to
We'll send
what
a
you're doing.
clean
Yeah,
whiteboard with
absolutely.
legit actionables that you can do that have
Please,
real goals.
Vivek, we want you to be successful, bro. Please give us a call.
Yeah, you're killing our
Anyways,
representation, man. But but yeah,
anyways,
real quick on the Cavs, like again, I think this is a Keon Ellis move, and I think Dennis Schroeder
yeah,
is kind of the salary extra that's filled in. But Dennis as your fourth guard, that's just
yeah.
hey, get a bucket, get to the line, be annoying. I think he fits that kind of Eastern Conference mold of that type of guard. Yeah, I think but for Dennis, what this is 4 teams in 5 years or some
Hmm.
crazy number now, right after the Lakers. I think it's Lakers, Raptors, is it Boston? I'm not sure.
Boston,
Yeah,
Houston,
Kings,
something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
something like that. He's taking a whirl around. But yeah, it's I mean, it's a nice kickoff. What I'll say, Vinay, is these are two teams that are obviously nowhere near the Giannis stuff, right?
Yes.
And so they can work with that. It feels like any team that's involved with that is going to sit out and watch as things unfold. And I'm sure you have some comments on that, but that's kind of what I see. These are all three, including the Bulls, right? They have nothing to do with Giannis. They took Dario Saric in some seconds, but which we didn't even discuss because I don't think it has anything to do with anything. But yeah, interesting first trade. We'll see if this is a domino that kicks anything else off.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see if this ends up resulting in anything else and what ramifications. Like I'd have to look at the cap sheet, but like just doing the math on off the top of my head, you're sending out Dennis Schroeder, who probably makes like what, like 12, 13 million,
Yeah.
and Keon Ellis, who makes maybe about 2 million. And then you took back DeAndre Hunter, which is 24 million. So there's, unless the Kings magically, and I don't know how close they are to the tax, but if they're interested, I would imagine they're not trying to take on like an extra 10 million just for the heck of taking on an extra 10 million and give up a young prospect to do that too, as well as unless they really like DeAndre Hunter. So it'll be interesting. To answer your question, I think
Yeah.
DeAndre and Keegan can play together because
Okay.
they don't like to operate in the same areas. I don't think,
Mm,
I think, I think DeAndre was being used as like the 3 point, stand around the 3 point line guy, but I don't think that's like what he wants to do for like his career. Whereas Keegan is sort of like an outside in player, whereas DeAndre might
mhm.
be more of an inside out player. He likes to take mid range shots. He can get to the rim, that kind of stuff. So maybe they change up some of the schematic of how all this sort of works. We'll see. But
Y-
yeah, it's a nice intro to the trade deadline trade. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bad. So
y- Yeah, nice start. Really quick, just they Shams also said that the Bulls are gonna waive Javon Carter.
okay,
Any interest in Javon Carter
I
at
don't
all?
think so. No,
Okay.
I don't know that. Isn't he older? I want to say he's in his 30s.
I feel like I remember he was a guy that I was interested in like
A
a
while
couple
back.
years
Yeah.
ago because I think he popped off as like a defensive
Yeah.
guard
He
that
might
has
just be
some.
one of those guys who's young but looks old. So I might be just wrong about
So
his
he's
age.
he's 30. I
Okay,
mean,
close.
so
Almost got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
not old, but he's been around long enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Interesting name, but probably not anybody that we'd be considering. Probably wait
sure.
and see if we get somebody else. So before we go on to that very first topic, um, because DeAndre got traded, because
Hmm.
Keon got traded, those are the two players that were linked to the Lakers. Are we upset about either one of those guys not being a Laker?
I would have loved Keon. I wasn't as excited about DeAndre Hunter. I also had I feel like less information. Didn't watch him as
Mhm.
much was going off. A lot of the information that was being presented. I think a lot of people came to a similar conclusion that Rui and DeAndre are probably in the same tier of player, and so giving up one for the other doesn't move as many needles as maybe you would have liked.
Mhm.
But Keon, I thought would have helped. He was a
Yeah,
year, I believe,
inexpensive.
inexpensive. He, I think, fits kind of the positional need that we're playing Gabe Vincent in right now, which is defensive guard that can catch threes, catch and shoot threes. And I think Keon's just much better than Gabe right now, and I think will be going forward. I want another ball pressure guard that doesn't have the last name Reeves or Doncic. Like, I want someone else to have
Mhm.
to do that. Marcus Smart can do it in waves. Vanderbilt again can do it in waves, but I think Keon fits a little bit better. Were the Kings ever trading with the Lakers? I don't know. I think there's some hatred there, and I'm not sure
Mhm.
the last time the Kings and Lakers have actually made a trade. But Keon is the one I would like. Hunter, I wasn't I wasn't expecting too much from that. What about you?
Yeah, yeah. So, like Keon, me and you are the opposite on this. Like, I wasn't
Yeah,
as high on Keon mainly because his build, his physical build, is not the type of build that we need to add next to guys like Austin and
sure.
Luca. I think like guys like Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia have been effective because they're bigger bodies, but they're still
Hmm.
able to move on the floor. And that's not to say that Keon can't uh,
Hmm.
eventually improve to the point to be that way. I just don't know if he was really built to be that way. I think he's more equipped to defend more smaller dynamic guards, maybe the De'Aaron Foxes, when we kind of need somebody in Keon's spot to be able to guard like a bigger guard. I'm trying to think of maybe a Devin Booker or a obviously Shea Gilgeous Alexander examples are the two that come to mind, or Anthony Edwards comes to mind. Like, I don't know if I could put Keon on them, and so the chat was saying that the sound was cutting out. Can you guys hear? Okay, it's just, some of the other folks are like, it's good. We'll just keep going.
Okay.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so my point was, I'm not disappointed that we didn't get DeAndre Hunter, but I did like the idea of DeAndre over Rui, specifically because I think he's a little more athletically uh, adept to doing the things that we need defensively out of Rui. Because you and I have talked about this before. Now that Rui's on the bench, one of the things that we had discussed extensively was, hey, if you're not going to use Rui for scoring, then it doesn't make sense to have him in the starting group. You need him for more of a defensive purposes. And now with and one of the guys that I thought that would be maybe better for those defensive purposes because he's a better athlete was a
Sure.
guy like DeAndre. And I think in the chat I had made the case to you where, hey, he's already played with a guy like Trey Young, and so he already knows the process of the transition to playing with a guy like Luca is easier because
Luca.
he kind of did it with Trey, but Luca's an even better passer. I would argue, um, and so I'm not disappointed. Would I have liked that trade to happen? Certainly, if nothing else manifested, I would have taken a gamble on that. Is that fair? Is that a
Yeah,
fair way to think about it?
I think it is. I think the Lakers maybe do that deal if it was a straight up swap. I
Mhm,
don't know. That's kind of the way I'm reading all of this. Some things again, I think you're right. Hunter is more physically able and he's just a better athlete than Rui. I do hear Cavs people talk about Hunter and Hawks. People who've like
mhm.
watched him extensively kind of bring up the point that Hunter kind of is the type of player that leaves you wanting more a lot, right? Like he's
Fair.
like the image or the potential of him doesn't always match kind of the play style. And sometimes systems are this way, and like it only takes one good spot for a player to kind of figure that stuff out. But I think that's some of the things that I was a little concerned with as well. He's billed as this 3-and-D wing defender, but that again hasn't really bore out in the film or the numbers to the people are watching on a daily
Mhm,
basis. And I don't think the Lakers wanted to extend out draft capital to get that done, it feels like. And then you pour on top the sweet honey, Vinay, of we don't want any money coming out. That's the sugar right on
Oh
top.
my,
You have the
oh
nice
my
ice
god.
cream.
Yeah.
You have the nice ice cream in the
Yeah.
bowl, and you just put that little cherry of,
Oh
hey,
my
we don't
god.
want any money coming after this season. So that can be an easy lever to throw on any deal that is not made. And again, like this is, and you were talking about Keon Ellis's fit next to our guards, and I don't think you're wrong in that. My kind of thought process is if we're like the group we're already selecting is already filtered out heavily, right?
Yeah.
By
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, we don't want someone who doesn't have money next year. We don't want long term money. We don't want to
Yes.
give out. We only have one first round pick, and we don't want to use that. So that group was already very secluded. Is kind of his name, his name kind of floats to the top of that group. He's like, hey, I kind of fit all those parameters, but you still still to get him. There's more. There's more competition than the Lakers. I guess we're ready to kind of give up for. But yeah, this I think Hunter and Keon were linked to the Lakers not because they weren't. I'm sure like these are conversations to be had. Because Vinay, if you do this list and you take out players who don't have contracts for
Oh yeah,
2 years,
yeah.
it's a short list. It's not a lot. It's not a lot of talent. A lot of those guys are usually not signed, or there's a reason they haven't been extended. That's a long-winded way to say, yeah, we're gonna talk about some of the guys that are still available here.
All right, so before we get into that, Raj, before we get into that, Lakers have what I termed sort of a mediocre January. Granted that this January included, a couple of role players in and out. Obviously, Austin Reeves out the entire time. Some injuries here and there to Luca, and obviously Braun managing himself as it goes. We had some kind of stinky losses to the Bucks, a Bucks team that was not good. Even in the game that we played was not good, but we somehow found a way to play worse. A Kings team, which was one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league until they played us, and magically became the best 3-point shooting team in the league. And then we get scorched by the Hornets in a game we were in control of. And then all of a sudden, we just lost control thanks to LaMelo Ball, who caught fire in the third
Not a
quarter.
bad loss looking at it now. They're I think lead the league in net rating for the last month. They've won 6 in a row. The what did you say? It's the they're just running the players are running the organization or
Oh
however
yeah,
you termed it.
the inmates. The famous thing that the Houston Oilers or Houston Texans owner, I think he said, is the inmates can't have the inmates running the prison.
Well, it seems like they
Essentially, yeah,
got that taken care of. It feels like,
yeah,
and they're winning. So not that one not as bad as loss, but
yeah.
continue.
Yeah, so so we've had some stinky losses, some surprising ones too as well. I think a lot of people expected us to lose the Denver game, even though they didn't have Jokic, because Denver's a really well coached team, and they had been like the Hornets, running through teams even without Jokic available. Jamal Murray was on fire. Lakers make a furious comeback and win that game against them. Then we get the game against the Hawks, who had beaten us bad in Atlanta. And that's a game that I think some people, I certainly thought that we would get run off the floor without Austin available, just because they're an athletic team. Lakers hurt, they beat them really bad too as well. All of it to get to the very last game of January, which was the game against the Wizards. Luka Doncic with a triple double at halftime.
Yes.
Lakers almost up 40 at some point in that game. And the entire month consisted of just up and down play, game to game. And I know we talked about this last time in the pod, but just like this thing where it's just like I can't figure out like what version of this team sometimes is going to show up. And like I get it when it's like a really good team, you expect them to maybe fold if they're down 10, 12 points, but like now sometimes they do it against bad teams. And so anyways, long story short, basically have a 500 January. We're going to be going into this trade deadline. Austin's on the precipice of coming back. It's
Yeah.
going to be a huge boost to the team, huge boost to everybody, I think, especially those bench units. Luka, from his like 4 or 5 game slump that he had going to Slovenia and coming back, has looked spectacular. Magically not moving up the MVP ranks, even though he's playing amazing. Braun continuing to look great since January started.
Yeah.
Very much back into regular form. What was your like takeaway? Like what did you feel?
Well, it looks like we lost. It looks like we lost Vinay, but I think he was asking me my takeaway on the team being 9-7. I guess in the last month, I feel like without Austin Reeves, we did this without LeBron to start. The Lakers were 13-4 to start the season without LeBron, and everyone was surprised and shocked. And then he returned, and the team kind of stayed above water. And then Austin Reeves goes out, right? And I think that I tweeted something out that kind of upset a ton of people that the Lakers don't get covered like a team and then they got blown out by the Cavs. But I think Austin Reeves being out has been no, now we got Vinay back.
Oh,
It looks like
sorry, man. I don't
um
know what's
y-
going on. My internet's
no,
acting fishy
you're
today.
you're good. Yeah, I was just, answering what you were saying in terms of what the team is. I think with LeBron, when LeBron went out to start the year, Vinay, and then we went 13-4 or whatever, everyone's like, "Oh wow, like how did the team survive?" And then he returned and the team kind of stayed above water. I feel like without Austin, it's been kind of this similar trek where it's, you know, I think the team is being judged in a way where they're missing their not only third or second best player at times, but I think the team just does not have enough shot creation anywhere else to where without him, you fall just well below baseline. Like
Mhm,
especially when one or Luca or LeBron aren't on the court. Or you mentioned, I think correctly, that there's been so much sporadic up and down type of play. And I think that's something that correlates when you have a 41-year-old as your second engine of the car. It's just I think you go as LeBron sometimes goes as well. Like you mentioned the game we blew out the Hawks. That was a second night of a back to back. That
yeah,
was they got blown out by the Kings the night before, traveled home, and the whole expectation was, man, why are you playing Luca and LeBron on the second night of a back to back? You're gonna lose anyway. This is a Hawks team that has Jalen Johnson and a bajillion other athletes, and they bullied that team out of the building. And a
mhm,
lot of that was because LeBron came in and understood we just got blown out by the Kings, and he I thought started with the exact type of energy and motor and dominance that the team needed. So I don't know. I was saying before you cut off,
mhm,
I tweeted out that a lot of people got upset. I was like, hey, the Lakers don't get covered like a team that's 11 games over
yes,
500 to me nationally. Just every game is an indictment on Luca's ability to lead a team to the championship, while I'm watching this guy average 35 and 9 on just stupid numbers, averaging like 18 to 20 points in first quarters, keeping the
yeah,
team afloat, keeping lineups with like Gabe Vincent, Vando, Jackson Hayes, somehow offensively capable.
yes.
They put this stat out, this graph out today, and I don't know if you got to see it, but there was kind of this graph of what team has the worst role players. That was kind of the
Oh, I
the
saw
the,
this.
the
Yeah,
stint of the stat, and I think the
yeah,
Lakers were like on the total bottom in terms of help. We have the worst bench in the league, I think, by a mile. And so, and the team again still 11 games over 500. With Austin returning again, I don't know what the identity of this team. JJ Redick has been pretty transparent of like I can't get a feel for it.
yeah,
I think a lot of that is because your three main guys, other teams have guys out hurt, but Austin, Luca, and LeBron are so like pivotal to not just what the team does, just how they run things on both ends. I think without
yeah.
Austin, it's been tough to do that. But 9-7, I mean, I think if Austin went out and you told me they went 9-7 with 4 to 5 road wins on an 8-game road trip, like I probably take it. If they can split these next two, they have what the Knicks and the Nets, I believe, before
Knicks and
Knicks,
Nets,
Nets.
and then we
Yeah,
come
so
home.
if you can split these next two, I think you go 5-3 on an 8-game road trip. One of them was the Clippers, which counts or doesn't count. But I think I would take it. What about you? Where are you at with the team?
My concern is that like this team is still not showing me what it does well.
Mm,
Like some individual players are showing me what they can do
mm,
well, but the team isn't showing me what they can do consistently as a team well. So like I'm not going into these games thinking having supreme like I have supreme confidence that Luka's going to go into the
mhm,
game and he's putting up 35. He's putting up 35% of the points that we are going to score that game. He's doing that no matter what. Um, and then I think I know like I'm going to get at least 20 from LeBron and stuff like that. But after that, it gets really shaky for me.
mhm,
Like I'm like, are we going to get good defense? Are we going to make open threes at a league average rate? Maybe even like stuff like that is just kind of that's been really the main thing that's been bothering me. That like I can't lean on any specific identity to the team in terms of specifically from the retrospective of like, are we a good rebounding team? Are we a good defensive team? Are we a good offensive team? Let's just take those three things, right? Let's add one more thing. Are we a good like blue collar hustle
mm,
team? Right? Are we a good little things team? If we didn't take those four things, I can't say any of those four things are like I can lean on that. Maybe the offensive part. I can lean on the, "Hey, we could score with completely bricking." Like, is that fair? Is that a fair thing to say about, like, this team?
I'm gonna ask you a dangerous question. So what
Oh, dangerous. These are my favorite questions. Favorite ones.
Alright, this is not to, like again, this is not to, like, uh, pull any narrative or stuff like that. I'm just interested
I
because
mean,
we've talked about
we make the rule Raj, we make the rules here, dude. This is
Sure, I
this
know,
is our
I know.
pod. We make the
So when
rules.
the team was 13-4 to start the season, what would you say like, if you had to? Because we did some shows, during that time as well. Just you don't have to go
Yeah.
from memory, but when you're looking back at that where the team was playing, pretty good dominant basketball, what were they good at then, do you feel like? That has not maybe
Um,
transferred season-wise, because obviously that's a small sample, that's 17 games. From
mhm.
that point, what do you think has not continued where, like, you're not seeing that anymore to where you can go, "Okay, yeah, that's what they do well." And
Honestly, I think it's the first 17 games of the season, I think there was a very clear hierarchical structure and expectation of what we were going to get out of the 2 guys that were playing really well. Obviously, Austin was a surprise because of how much of a leap he took scoring-wise, but I felt like there was a point in the season where we could pencil in Austin for like, okay, Austin's coming in, Luka's going out. This is what we're going to do. I thought there was I thought there was involvement from everybody. There was like buy-in from everybody on the team at a level. See, I can't quantify that, so it's gonna sound crazy, but like it just felt like when I would watch the team that like, oh, he's in the right spot that he's
mhm,
supposed to be in. Oh, he's having a nice game because these 2 guys are clearly recognizing this is the guy that's having a good game and they're sharing the ball. Um, and they're it just felt more team oriented. Like obviously Luca was spectacular to start the season and Austin was great too as well. But it's just like I remember after 17 games to start the season, I was just like, yo, DeAndre Ayton was a freaking steal, dude. Like we're just he's giving us 15 and 10 or 18 and 10, whatever it is. Rui, obviously we know his shot volume comes and goes depending on how often he gets the ball, both of them. But like, they're doing a Marcus Smart looks like a great defensive fit. The data reflects all that kind of stuff too as well. So for me, it's just like it's not obviously the data will say that they're an extraordinarily good team for those 17 games, especially that starting group. But even if I take the data part out, it felt like everybody knew what they were supposed to be doing. Whereas now Rui is starting. Now he's not starting anymore. Now an article comes out about him being okay about coming off the bench. And then you're like, well, why did you wait till a week before the trade deadline to say that? Why wouldn't you just say that when you were early on? And now Jake Laravius come on and Marcus Smart is back and LeBron has found his footing. But DeAndre Ayton is this is my DeAndre Ayton is trending down. So now everybody's like, well, get DeAndre Ayton out of here. So I was just like, I
well,
don't know, dude. Like I a part of me just thinks I'm hoping that Austin comes back and it's the penicillin
yeah.
to all of the Lakers' problems, but it might not work
Yeah,
out that way.
I do think Austin is a nice shot in the arm. I think that that's a really nice thing to get back, and it's gonna, I think, energize a lot of the team. But it's a good off ramp to take because I think the DeAndre Ayton stuff is starting to hit really
Oh yeah.
strange levels. You have Portland fans coming to take their victory lap. You have Phoenix Suns fans coming to take their victory lap. It's been a
Okay, can I just say this to the Portland fans? Y'all never like it's not like y'all like look to him to be like the future of your team. Like I don't think there was like any point where Portland fans were like, yeah, we got DeAndre Ayton, like this is gonna be the guy. Like you clearly got him because you were they gave you Tumani Kamara. The way that we talk about this Keon Ellis trade
mm,
for Dennis Schroeder is probably the way that people are looking at or looked at the Tumani trade. Nobody knew Tumani would become this good, but Tumani's a great defensive Swiss Army knife player. But I Phoenix fans, I understand doing
there's some upset in.
or yeah, doing victory laps. But Portland fans like, bro, y'all didn't play him because you didn't want him to be productive off the bench.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
anyways,
well,
but yeah,
there's
go for it.
like there's the conversation around him has kind of turned to, well, he should just be happy to be here type of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's it's kind of
Yeah.
turned. They spit this stat out every time on the broadcast, and I think the Lakers are 15-0, and DeAndre Ayton has 15 and 10 or 8 and 10 or some kind of double double.
Yeah. I think when he scores at least 15 points a game, they're
Yes.
undefeated, basically.
Which
Yeah.
I think to me is not, should just do his job anyway. I look at that and LeBron had a nice quote of, "Hey, we fed him tonight and, he did the things we need to do." I think he's a guy that needs to be fed, and most of the games I watch where the Lakers don't play well, I think it was against Charlotte, he got like 3 or 4 touches in that game.
Mhm.
Have you changed at all your stance on DeAndre Ayton? Like, for me, when I hear this type of stuff, I go, "Well, you knew what you were buying. Like, you knew exactly the player you were
Yeah.
getting. You weren't getting Rudy Gobert. Like, you weren't getting a guy that was gonna run up and down and do all these things
Yes.
and not expect a post touch 50 times after running up and down. You didn't get a guy that was just gonna come
Yes.
screen for you while you ignore him every single time he's open on the short roll. Like, you gotta give him the basketball sometimes. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Like, I get, like, in a perfect world, yes, you would like every player to just um screen hard, whether they know they're getting the ball or not, which is a nice, like, really cool universe to
Yeah.
live in, right? Where every player just comes vinay and sets their screen, and no matter what the result of that screen is, whether they're gonna get the ball or when they're open, that's not really how the world works and how the NBA works. And so I've seen some of those kind of little things from him, but my answer is just, what you were getting. This guy didn't come here to average 8 and 5, like
Yeah.
and so I don't know what's the balance on that, because I think that's something like Aiton has now been thrown in some hypothetical trades. I don't see it. I don't think the Lakers are trading him. But have you changed at all your stance on DeAndre Ayton?
No, I don't think the replacement talent. So I would say this, if I had to, I totally forgot to do this, Roger. I was supposed to make myself a tinfoil hat, and I forgot to do
Sure.
it because I was going to do it every time I make these conspiratorial or speculative statements. Um, Somebody even messaged me earlier today about it, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I got to remember to do it," and I completely forgot to do it. So next stream, everybody, next stream, I'll make sure I have my tinfoil hat for these segments. I would say it this way: I don't think the Lakers are shopping DeAndre Ayton,
Mm,
but I don't think the Lakers would not listen to a conversation
sure.
about DeAndre Ayton if the right team came to them and I had the right replacement center for them. But I don't think they're actively going out of their way to look for him. I'm not. I'm still on the DeAndre Ayton island. Um, while I know a lot of people have probably
Yeah.
left
Took their flights
on
out.
their boats. Yeah, they're taking their canoes. This island doesn't have flights,
Oh,
Raj. You got to
gotcha.
swim off the island, so that's how these work. Anyways, so my thing is, I'm not worried about his offensive stats. So a lot of people do the offensive stat thing, and I think that turns into it's a weird slippery slope with our fan base. I think sometimes because when a player starts talking about offensive stats and you already have a guy like Luca and already have a guy like LeBron on the team, then the immediate reaction is always going to be, well, who are you to ask about
Yeah, right.
shots and shot volume and blah blah blah, that sort of thing. And so I think that's always a weird way to discuss it. I've also seen people use Aiton's own words against him from earlier on in the season, where he came out and he
Right.
said, "I'm here to screen. I'm here to play defense. I'm here to do whatever they need me to do to win." And people are like, "Yeah, see, clearly he was
Right.
lying. He just wants to score the basket." And so, like, my pushback to that is always just like, "Well, he was doing those things, and he was getting the ball. By the way, like he was being given the
Right.
ball to
Right.
score. He's not getting that every night anymore." So, like, I think he was telling the truth as long as he was being rewarded to some degree for some of his hard work. And it's not a statistical thing. I think it's just like I said, it's a level of involvement. I think Aiden's talked before about like how hyper focused on he is on like what the ball handler is doing after he delivers the screen. He's talked about Austin saying that when Austin's on fire,
I leave
I'm telling Austin, just
Yeah,
go
I
do
leave
your
him
thing,
alone.
dude. Like, don't worry about me. So it's like I think he's a guy who's aware, and a lot of big men are like this. They're at the mercy of the ball handler, and they have to learn how to feel it. So, like, is there a chance that DeAndre Ayton feels a little type of way when he's screening 35 times for Luca, and Luca's not having a good shooting night, and Luca just insists on taking shots instead of giving him a chance? I would say that's probably like a human feeling that he has. Is he the same caliber of player of Luca to be able to say that? No, but again, it's a team sport. And Raj, I hand this back to you. JJ Redick has come out and said, "Hey, we need to trust the pass. We need to trust our teammates." And again, not making anything of it. I don't think it's friction. I always think it's funny. You and I always listen for the human
Yeah,
element of basketball. Luka Doncic, in like his past couple post games, he said, giving it to
yeah,
my teammates. So I think the message, as in, it's not a disciplinary thing
sure.
that's happening, or there's some friction between Luca and JJ, but I think there is a thing of like, I understand, Luca. You think you could score every single time you come down the court, but we just need you to just be a little, just give it to him this time,
Yeah, yeah,
and so he's happy. And if we're up 25, that's probably the best time to do it. Like, we really don't need you to to push this to 40. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it's just one of those things. I think Aiton is now the victim of
right.
that, whatever that is, the role player that gets
I
jumped on.
I love when someone asks Luca, like, "Hey, JJ said you should pass more," and it's kind of like asking a fish, "How does water feel?" You know what I mean? It's kind of like, what? Like, what are you even talking about? You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah,
so it's funny to see his facial expressions. Like, I had 13 assists, and you're asking me,
yeah,
should I have passed more? And so I could tell that those are questions, not in like a bad way, but I could tell those are kind of the ones that annoy him a little bit. The last thing on Aiden, which it's not really an Aiden thing, and this is kind of I think been noticed across it. I'm gonna ask if you think this is correct. Do you think Luca and
yeah.
Jackson have had better chemistry than Luca and Aiden?
Yeah, because I think Luca Luca really prefers to throw a lob pass.
Right.
This is a behavioral thing. Um, I did a Radio KBE episode, the last episode I did, and I talked about the 3 ways to break, how I evaluate players, and one of the segments that I use is behavioral,
Mm-hmm.
and I was comparing, like, Rui and DeAndre to each other. Um, I think Jackson and, DeAndre Ayton, I think Jackson and Ayton behaviorally have 2 different styles of how they like to score the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Ayton much more so, preference-wise, compared to Jackson. But I also do think the way the ball gets passed to them behaviorally from Luca is different too as well. I think Luca likes to throw lob
I do
passes.
too.
I think like he genuinely enjoys, like he gets a real joy out of it. Um, Not that he doesn't get joy throwing behind the back passes or slip passes or something like that. I just think he really likes throwing lob passes. That's his preferred way of doing it. So I think because Jackson is like that, he's more equipped for that. And Luca is like that. I think he does it because I've seen Austin run the same pick and roll with Aiton, and Austin can deliver slip passes, and he can deliver like those cutting bounce passes or sliding bounce passes, all that sort of stuff. And Aiton loves getting
Yeah.
those because he's able to finish on the run or whatever he's supposed to do. So I think there's a behavioral thing. I think there's like a preferential thing, and I think that's why one looks better than the
Yeah,
other.
but I think that's enlightening to what you go grab, right? I think if you're gonna go get a center that you wanna pay 20 to $30 million a year, whoever's available, Nick Claxton, etc., I think that player needs to be athletic. I'm not saying Aiden can't be
Mhm.
your center, going forward. I would be shocked if he is the center of the future, or whatever that is that it entails. But I do think Luca does like, to your point, he likes to throw lobs. I also think some of this is not to degrade other players, but I think sometimes Luca really does get bored, and so there's like a level of I don't know. I watch him play. It's like you ran the same action 5 times, and it's gotten you a good shot every time. You didn't need a step back three over on this play,
Yeah,
but
and then he just
yeah, but
he
he's
just
like,
goes and he's just like, yeah, F it. I'm just
yeah,
gonna take it. Like over 2 people, whatever.
bro, he had
Sure, why
I
not?
clipped this play. It was like the score of it was like 4-6. Okay, game just started, and
Yeah.
like I think Luca hit a shot to start. You can see his brain go like, "Hey, what can I like? What's my limit here? It's 4-6. Game just started. Like it's the Wizards, so I'm sure there's very little respect. But
Yeah.
like he comes off a curl, pump fake, gets two guys in the air, one-legged step back shot that goes in, and it's like he's like laughing going back down this court. It's like, dude, what the like people don't even try that in practice. And so yeah, that's the type of stuff with
He's
him.
a
But
Yeah, he's a he's an interesting guy because he genuinely enjoy. You could tell he really enjoys. He's so emotive. Like, he genuinely enjoys playing basketball.
yeah,
He could tell he has fun doing it. But like the funniest part about it is like they'll go up like 15 points, and he'll just start doing not like this was the thing where it's just like remember when they would run pick and roll and then like the Lakers would get like a
Yeah.
switch, the 7
Right.
footer, and so you would think like okay, the advantage is give it to your big
No,
man
he's like, "Get out of the
because he's
way."
so deep in the paint. Instead, he's just like he's just like no, clear out. But he's doing it now. Let me give as a side
Right.
note, Luka's been driving so much more in
Yes.
January. It's been great. He's actually cut down. I would say he's more prejudicial with like the
Mhm.
threes that he's taking now. But to get back to the original point, normally you give it to your
Yeah.
big man. So you force the class. So Luka's like, no, clear out. And he's like, I'm not even gonna drive by this guy. I want to shoot
Right.
it over
Yeah.
him. And I want it to be a step back. And I'm like, dude, why are you making things so hard
Yeah.
sometimes? And usually if he misses, that'll be when people are like, "Oh my god, this is so
Yeah.
selfish," or "It's such a bad shot," or but I mean, at the same time, it's just like we always say the thing, dude. Like it's just like he's a superstar player. He's allowed some of those possessions. Obviously, you don't want too many of those
Right.
possessions, but those are the possessions that he likes to do. And I think it's just the nature of what he is as a player because he genuinely when he makes those shots,
He's unguardable.
which are actually more often than you would realize, he's so happy. Like when he goes up the court, he honestly feels like he hit a circus shot over somebody when he takes
Yeah.
those. So it makes him so,
He
it
yeah.
is what it is. You gotta live with it.
He has this thing where the worse the team is, the more he enjoys, obviously, he likes the competition against the better teams, but,
Yeah,
like, he's not a guy that's like, "Oh, it's the Wizards tonight, I'm gonna, like, chill and get," it's kinda like, "No, no,
no,
no. No one on that team can guard me. I'm getting 65 if
yeah.
I have
Run up the
yeah, if I
score,
have the
baby.
minutes." And it's nice, after because I think, LeBron had to, kind of work himself through, and AD wasn't really that
Yeah,
type of guy, so sometimes it's nice to have a guy that's just like, "No, we're stepping on your neck, and I'm not taking the foot off the gas at
yeah,
all." And so this last thing I remember, you were talking about like the clear out. I think we signed Drew Timmy, and like he just started getting minutes, and then he set a screen for Luca, and he had like a super small guy on him. I forgot who he had. Maybe it was Tim Hardaway or who it was, and he's like so excited,
yeah,
like he's sealed him. He's like ready to
yeah.
hand out, right?
All the
Like,
things.
hand
Yeah.
out, like Luca, like right here, I got it. And Luca's like, no, 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 like go to the corner.
Get, get him out of the paint. Get him out
You
of the
see Drew like, okay, like obviously he's gonna do it, but he's like, man, I like
Yeah.
had this all set up. But yeah,
Oh my god. There's a thing that I kept so during this January stretch, I don't have the data in front of me, but during the January, at least the stretch without Austin, there's been this thing, especially since January, where I think the Luca versus Braun FC wars have still been they've simmered,
yeah,
but they're still
yeah,
there. Like the major lightning rods for those arguments are still there. The Braun FC folks had started pushing out like, well, the bench units with Braun without Luca, they've been great, and the bench units with Luca without Braun haven't been
right,
good. And I think we had talked about on the pod where like, and I know I did a Radio KB episode where broadcast where I talked about like those bench units, depending on which one is up and down, it basically is deciding the game. Like if the one of those bench units is like catastrophically bad in for a stint, you're gonna lose it. They're gonna lose the game for sure, or they need some sort of crazy comeback to come back. But the point I was making up was people were like, yeah, the reason why the bench unit with Braun works better is because he's like giving the ball to his teammates, and Luca doesn't give the ball to his teammates. And like as soon as I saw that, I was just like, have you guys seen the lineups that they're
yeah,
running? These guys like JJ had to go and be like, Drew Timmy, like you got to come
right.
and play with LeBron because we need somebody who can make open shots. Meanwhile, Luca is shooting with like Jackson Hayes
Bando,
and like
yeah,
Vando at the same time, and then people are like, "Why is he jacking up bad shots?" It's like, no. But again, if the purpose of that lineup is for Luca to jack up shots, then that's just what it's going to
yeah,
be. And so, anyways, it's the data has always been funny this season because you have to contextualize it with the more than ever. I think you have to contextualize it with the film to understand what they're trying to do. Not to say that one has been better than the other during the stretch, um, but it's very clear that both the lineups need Austin back. Like that's the only way I can describe it. Like Austin has been sorely, sorely missed, especially on the offensive end because we've had some awful offensive games with lacking
y-
creation. And so I can't wait for him to get
yeah.
back.
Austin hopefully is back. tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe they give him a couple more days. He's still questionable. Luka is no longer on the injury report, nor is LeBron. So those are two good
Mhm.
things. Luka looked pretty healthy in Washington. We'll knock on wood for that. Too long here. So
Too long, too long.
I'll let you set this
We've
up.
got 45 minutes and people are like, "Where is the
Right.
Giannis
Yes.
information?" This is what we came for.
Yes.
So let's jump into that, Raj. Um, the trade deadline is 1 week out,
Okay.
February 5th or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's going to be the last day for trades. Lakers have a game tomorrow. They have a game on Tuesday. The Lakers have 1 day. They have a game on the day of the
Oh,
trade deadline.
yes. Oh my god. That's on a Thursday? Yeah.
Putting putting my imaginary conspiracy hat
Ooh,
on,
okay.
I don't think the Lakers make a trade. I don't
Oh,
think, not a
wow.
prediction, just speculation. I don't think they make
Any
a trade
trade. Oh, I
until
see.
no, no,
I
no,
see.
no. Until, see, you gotta let me finish. Conspiracy only. The cons- I don't think they make a trade until February 4th.
Mm,
I don't think this will be like what happened last year when you and I were on
yes.
stream and they made a trade immediately after the New York game. That was a different circumstance because Anthony Davis was still home. He didn't go on the road trip with the
Okay.
Lakers. So that's why that trade was possible. I think Max was on the road, but it's Max. Like Max, young guy, he'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Obviously Anthony Davis a crucial part of the team at the time. So I think if you see a Lakers trade, you won't see it. If it happens, you won't see it until February 4th when everybody's back home.
Mm,
Because it would be weird to make that trade while they're all on the road because the whole team's on the road. And then like the flight back would be like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like you're not gonna be with
yeah.
us like after this flight. So is it possible that happens? Maybe. But I think that that's probably the day before is probably when you see something, if anything is going to happen. Um the next thing is this big conversation that I think has been happening, which is Giannis has officially, unofficially, depending on whether you want to believe Chris Haynes or not, asked out of the Milwaukee Bucks, and all the teams that keep popping up are New York, Miami, the Golden State Warriors. Apparently, everybody wants Giannis to go to the Golden State Warriors, including ESPN. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Um, and then not only that, but now the Portland Trailblazers are potentially interested in trading for Giannis. The Minnesota Timberwolves are interested in trading for Giannis. There's been a lot of speculation all over the place now with Giannis and where he's going to end up. And I wanted to propose something to
Mhm.
you, Raj. Is what I call the gamble for Giannis, is what I've named this pod.
Yes.
Um, and the gamble for Giannis, as it relates to the Lakers, is simply put as this: the Lakers have consistently said, as recently as this DeAndre Hunter trade that we were not part of, that they value cap space next season. That
Favorite words.
keeping all of those contracts off the books next
Yes.
season is incredibly important. Um, as of right now, if the Lakers go with exactly the same roster that they
Mhm.
have into the offseason, they make no trades. So the assumption that they make no trades, they're going to have four guys that they are going to be expiring:
Yes.
LeBron, Rui, Gabe, Maxi. If they let all of those guys, all of them, if they let all of them expire, and or if they don't move any of those guys, and they let all of those guys, what's it called? Just renounce
Mhm.
them, let them go. And let's say Austin Reeves, he's going to opt out because he wants to get his what's it called? He wants to get paid, so of course he's going
Opt
to
out. Mhm.
make sure that opt out. Even with his cap hold, the Lakers are going to have about $43 million in cap space.
Okay.
Um, the gamble for Giannis is essentially this: that if the Lakers let all of those guys
Mhm.
expire, renounce them, and they open up this cap space, $43 million. The gamble is that you will be able to convince the Milwaukee Bucks in some fashion, whether it's 1-1 or whether it's with other teams involved too as well, that you can absorb Giannis into your cap
Right.
space, and the Bucks, if it's 1-1, it's much more difficult. Lakers will have the 2026 pick. They'll have two more first round picks. I'd imagine they're going to throw in Dalton. They'll probably offer a due too as well. So you get the equivalent of 5 first round picks
Yeah.
that the Lakers can absorb Giannis. Milwaukee gets a ton of cap savings. They clear their books pretty much. And you get 5 first round picks. Let's just do is was a highly
Sure.
regarded prospect. I don't think that's changed. 4 first round picks, Dalton, and maybe whatever we can squeeze in if there's a third team involved. The Lakers are gambling that they can make that trade possible with that
Yeah.
package. What do you think about the idea of doing that? Let's separate the two.
Sure.
I don't want to ask you about the package.
Sure.
I want to ask you about the process. What do you think about the idea of doing nothing at the trade deadline to try that gamble for Giannis?
You better have some good information of how he feels if this is the way you're going towards it, right? We're not in the rooms, don't know exactly what's being said. Giannis and his agent have mixed public words of what's going on. Giannis continues to say he's locked into the Bucks. Meanwhile, his agent is putting out the we and the Bucks have decided we are moving forward to leave each other.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'll say. This doesn't get done unless Giannis specifically comes out and goes, "Hey, I'm only going to the Lakers." And I would
Mm-hmm.
say, Mane, I think this has been undertold. Giannis has that leverage. He can come out and say that. Now, another team
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to listen to that. The Bucks don't have to listen to that. The Miami Heat can go, "We don't care. We're signing. We're trading for you anyway." The Portland Trailblazers can go, "We don't care. We're trading for you anyway." That's not really how the league works, though. There's very rare
Mm-hmm.
times that the team trade all their stuff for a superstar that does not want to be there. It just doesn't happen. It's
Yes.
extremely rare. The example a lot of people give is the Toronto Raptors, but they did not give much for Kawhi, who was already a stressed asset, quote unquote, because of the way he was
Yeah.
working in San Antonio. That's the only way this works. Now, I don't know the opportunity cost of not like right now. The opportunity cost that I've seen is DeAndre Hunter and Keon Ellis, which, in my opinion, is not enough to come off the freeway of the Giannis freeway. It's not enough. Now, that doesn't mean other things aren't. There are other players that are available that maybe are part of this. I don't know what that is. I have been
Mm-hmm.
pretty clear on this, especially from offline conversations between us, that I think the Lakers have decided this season's kind of the urgency on this season, which I think both of us have gone, hey, we just traded for Luka Doncic. We are in not obviously they want to win championships, but they don't feel organizationally that they are in title or bust mode this season. That's not the roster that they feel they've created. This is a
Mm-hmm.
roster that we'll see how far it goes. A lot of these guys are in audition mode of DeAndre Ayton's audition mode, Laravia's in audition mode. Like all these players are kind of auditioning to be a part of the team they feel is the contender, quote unquote, status. Is that great process? Probably not. But if it ends up with Giannis, I think that's kind of that's the result that they're looking for. I think there's a plan B somewhere in this. Now, whether that plan B kicks to gear in 5 days or in 3 months, we'll see. But I think that's the process that they're going with. I know you disagree, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear kind of what you're part of this. But I think just the way the Lakers have moved to me, like in terms of LeBron's extension not getting done, signing all these guys for 1 year, basically deals. I know Aiton has a team option, but I'm sure
Yeah.
or a player option, excuse me, that I'm sure he wants to decline. Aiton does not want to go from a $30 million player to an $8 million player. I'd be shocked if that's what he wants. And I'm sure he can get $8 million from anywhere else. So I'd be surprised if he picked that up. But in any case, yeah, my long spiel with that is this the right move? I don't know. Until Giannis gets traded, I don't know. And there's some scary thought that might not happen in the next 5 days. And so this might be a 3-month long process, which again puts the car in park
Mm-hmm.
and wait for, the requisite stuff to happen before that continues. But where are you at with this? The gamble, rolling the dice and trying to hit snake eyes once again a year later.
Yes. Yes. As a person who has been at many craps tables in
Yes,
Vegas.
much more than me. Yes.
I understand the odds of doing something like that. As irrational as I might
Hmm.
be when I throw them when I need them. Um, I don't like the process, Raj.
Okay.
I'm gonna be very honest. I don't like it. I like the idea of adding Giannis. The idea of using your cap
Hmm.
space. Like we could probably do 3 hours on this, honestly, if we really wanted
Sure.
to. But I don't like the process of all or nothing for Giannis. That's my biggest concern because I think the premium that you're running into here is time, and a lot of it is not. It's not the time that most fans use, which is the oh my god, you have this guy in his prime right now. You're wasting his life. You're wasting his career. I'm not talking about that sort of
Okay.
time. The time I'm talking about is the time to learn. You're losing the ability to learn w- what you really need and in order to win a championship. Now, I tweeted out a while back that I can't accept Rob punting on a transaction cycle because he's trying to hit a home run because you've already gotten the answers to the test from Nico Harrison. Nico Harrison has already shown you, the Dallas Mavericks have
Yeah.
already shown you. I won't say Nico Harrison because I know that's triggering for the Dallas fans, but the Dallas Mavericks showed you very clearly what you need to put around the type of players you need to put around Luca. You also now have a season and a half if you've not watched Luca at all in a Dallas jersey. Like you've already know the style of player he is. You and I, Raj, have done hours upon hours joking and deeply in analyzing Luca's behavior as a basketball player when he's an offensive player, defensive player, that sort of stuff. And we aren't in those. We're not in the. You're in the building on game day, but like we're not behind closed
Right.
doors doing that level of analysis. But we can tell based on what we're watching what you're going to get out of Austin, what you're going to get out of Luca, and what you've gotten out of LeBron this season, and what you get out of the role players. There should be no confusion about this anymore. There's going for home runs. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's also okay to make base hits, to take
It's a good
base
point.
hits and then work it out later. Because my thing is, if you go for the home run and you don't get it, then the situation you run into is I think personally, you're scrambling then
Mm.
for the other situation. And the example that I gave, I was talking to our guy, Coach Rome, on the coach's den. Like my concern, the reason why 2020 worked for the Lakers when they decided
Pivot.
to trade away Mo Wagner and those guys for Kawhi was because they had the backup plan ready. They lit you. It was literally openly reported if the Lakers do not get Kawhi Leonard and he doesn't want to sign there, they're going to get Danny Green. Danny Green is literally waiting for it because Danny Green at the time was like the best
Right.
three
3 and D
and
wing.
D wing of it at the time, and so I don't know that they have that alternate plan. I don't know what that alternate plan looks like. They might have one, they might not
Right.
have one. But my issue is even if you do get Giannis, let's say this works,
Mm.
Raj.
Okay.
I won't say I'm an expert capologist, but I think I know a little bit about it. Even if you use all 43 million in spend, let's just say the Bucks say in a 1-to-1 trade, yeah, you know what? Just send us like I think the difference is like about 15 million bucks. So they might be like, let's say the Bucks are crazy. They take a ton of drugs before they make the deal and they say, you know what? Send us Jared Vanderbilt and Dalton Connect so that the math, the outgoing incoming math works out legally. And then send us whatever picks you have available, Adu Thiero, and we're happy, right? Let's just say they say yes to that. Now at that point, you've got Luca, Giannis. You're going to max out Austin. He's going to get his 40 mil, so it's plus 14 million from his cap hold. So you're probably going to be like at 140 million, 100 whatever that million is supposed to be. Like now you're in this situation, Raj, where like you've got three guys. Cool. They probably do fit. You know, you and I think that Luca and Giannis and Austin and Giannis is a great pairing. But now you're doing that thing again where you're scrambling to
Yeah.
find well who's the bargain 3 and D wing that I can get? Who's going to be willing to take the MLE or the BAE? And if we do use up all of the MLE, we're going to be first apron hard cap. So now I have to like really make things on the margins work really. So now we're back to square one, which is the same thing that we've been doing for 8 years with LeBron and Anthony Davis. So my thing is, my entire pushback on this process is, if you have an opportunity now to build up to that eventual home, you said, in order for Giannis to come to LA, considering all the suitors and packages that a team could possibly send to the Bucks, the Lakers don't have the best package.
No.
We just don't. And if you know that the only way that Giannis can come to LA, like you said, is he has to literally say, I'm only going to Los
Right.
Angeles and I'm not going anywhere else. Now, it's kind of pretty clear that Giannis is not willing to nuke his own reputation. And Lord knows, if you say you want to go to the Lakers, you're Satan himself in the NBA universe. So my point is, whether it's happening behind closed doors or whether it's happening publicly, it is what it is. But I don't think skipping out on an entire transaction cycle just because of that thing, like, you would have to tell me, I would have to know, obviously I won't, but I would have to know that you have like a better than 75% chance of landing Giannis if you take that route, for me to take that route. It can't be a gamble, which
Sure.
is what it feels like right now. Is that fair? Is it fair for me to feel that way?
I love the base hit type of wording on this, and I'm gonna spin that.
Big baseball fans we
Yes,
are, Raj. Big
huge.
baseball.
They Dodgers just
Hardcore.
signed what was his name? I forgot his name. They just signed some big
Yeah.
player, I guess. Some
Some
guy
guy.
that
Yeah.
that but in any case, it was a big player though. I think they just got somebody, Justin Tucker or something like
Yeah.
that. Kyle Tucker?
Kyle
Yeah.
Tucker?
Yeah,
Something.
something in
Yeah.
that.
The chat was very upset about the Dodgers signing
Yeah,
him. So I was like, it must be pretty
right.
good if they're
Right.
upset. So
But I think the base hit thing is apt because, like, I think base hits matter if you care about your current team, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you care the current team you have, then like, yeah, let's get on base, let's score some runs. But to me, the Lakers are looking at it and going, we have a pitcher and one hitter, and that's it. And that so like if we don't really care about these base hits right now because LeBron's gonna expire. I'm not trying to upset the LeBron, faction, but I think it's as no matter what you think of the LeBron Lakers relationship, I think it's pretty clear that there's a separation that's coming most likely. Now
Mhm.
there's the discount word that gets thrown out, which I think me and Vinay have been pretty heavily thrown out that that's not happening. I don't think LeBron is taking a discount to stay here.
Yeah.
He may take discounts other places,
Mhm.
but I doubt. Anyway, it's not the point of this. LeBron's gonna expire. Everyone else on this team is in a one, like they are not committed to anyone else on this team. They get a trade for
Mm.
Vando tomorrow. They're moving him. And that's the only guy I think on a long term deal. Dalton obviously was already traded,
Yeah.
right? Dalton was traded. He just somehow returned through
Yeah.
a weird situation that you can throw on your conspiracy hat for again if you want to. But in any case, Austin and Luca are the only pillars that are, I think, locked in for the next 2 or 3 years. Everything else to them. So is the cap space specifically for Giannis? I think that's the main, like that is like the snake eyes role. But
Mhm.
I think everything else is also like they use the F word a lot too. The flexibility word Venega is now starting to get thrown out. You'll see that put in.
I was worried when
Yeah.
you said that because I was like, what word is he talking about?
Flexibility. Yes, sorry. Yeah, the flexibility word is it gets thrown out. Yes, I'm not large on the English language, but
Thank you for
yeah,
clearing
clear
that up.
enough.
Yeah.
The
Go for it.
flexibility word,
Yeah.
which again, flexibility can be thrown in a lot of things, right? It can be like, hey, we're keeping our flexibility open.
Yes.
And so that can be used in excuse. It's like, yeah, I mean, how flexible do you need to be, right? And so that's some of the things that can also be taken in a weird way. So I'm just gonna keep this going. But in any case, I think that is what they're looking for. Now, would it be nice to go get some role players to fill out? It would. I think those role players would be tradable later, but it's very clear they believe with one first round pick, it does not put them in a lot of conversation. I think you would agree with that. One first round pick is probably tough to get in a lot of conversations if the only other thing you're offering is expirings, right? So Ruiz
Yeah.
expirings, everyone else that you would trade is just purely expiring money, doesn't really have any on-court basketball value like Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber. All those guys are
Yeah.
just expiring money. So I think the conversations you're in, again, I think to your point of this is like, hey, I'd like to hit some base hits, but to them, they're like, yeah, DeAndre Hunter may be a base hit, but do I care about that based on a team that I don't know what the rest of the team's gonna look like in 3 months?
So, so can I
Yeah.
say this? I'll give you the DeAndre Hunter example. We'll use the
Yeah.
DeAndre
Yeah.
Hunter example. My thing is, if you pass it, okay, now if the cost of getting DeAndre Hunter was too expensive,
Mhm.
right? If they're so what I was told, sorry, what my birdies had
Mhm.
told me, the Cavs are asking for are asking for picks on top of Rui. They're asking for an overpay for the Lakers to get DeAndre Hunter,
Sure.
a first round pick, right? The Lakers are trying to get away with like, hey, we're just gonna give you Rui and like call
Filler.
it a day.
Yeah.
Or maybe the even lesser than that. The Lakers are like, look, if you really want cost savings, we'll give you Maxi and Gabe, and like you can literally waive them and save yourself even more money. You can probably buy them out and save yourself even more money because Rui's not going to take a buyout, but Gabe and Maxi might because Maxi's probably on the tail end of his career to some degree, and he's not going to get that kind of contract again. So you can save yourself even more tax money. And maybe Cleveland felt like, you know what, we're just getting fleeced too much. Now, in hindsight, now that we see the deal they got Keon Ellis out of the deal. I don't know if taking back Dennis Schroeder is worth it, but they got Keon Ellis, so they got a
Yeah.
prospect in return for DeAndre Hunter, which is probably what they wanted. My point's not the litigation of the trade. My point is, if if the Lakers thought that, hey, we think that DeAndre Hunter might be a piece, not the piece, a piece that can eventually fit around Luka, and the cost was negligible, right? Maybe it's just Rui and Dalton, and that's enough. They're okay with that. And I was trying to lowball them with
Mhm.
Maxi and Gabe. If you believe that, then what you also are doing in this situation by making that decision to just not do it is you don't get to learn if that was possible, right? Like I understand the salary cap part of they don't want to take on the extra year, they want to keep that cap space open, blah blah. So like that's why I keep bringing up the gamble part of it, because you're telling me that you know that for this $43 million, if you're going to gamble, that it's a much more sure bet that I can get Giannis with this 43 million in the summer than whatever value or learnings I would have gotten by adding a guy who might functionally help the team around Luca. And again, if you're low on DeAndre Hunter, then I totally understand them. They might have been. They might have been low on DeAndre, and so that's why they passed on him. But like, that's the part that I don't like, Raj. Like, we don't have the inside information. I don't know what conversations Rob has had or what conversations have been had between GMs from different teams and Rob. But just the idea, if this is the idea of max cap space for Giannis absorption, great use of cap space to add a superstar to your team in a non-conventional
Sure.
way. But at the same time, it's like I really, really hope you have an inside track on this, because if you don't, like, I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know what I could come up with creative ways to use that cap
Sure.
space, but I'd rather wait till the summertime to do that once we know what the layout of the
So,
league is.
so I'm not a gambler, but there's a quote that is kind of tied to gambling a ton, right? Or actually, this is a quote in life in general, but it gets used in gambling. Um, don't gamble more than you can play with, kind of thing, right? Is kind
Yeah.
of the gist of the quote. You never go to a table and like give more than you actually have, or however that quote is ran.
Mhm.
The Lakers in 2020 were like, "Hey, Danny Green, we want you to wait for us, but we are willing to risk." Like some team could have came to Danny Green and go, "F that. Here's this much. Like you don't have to wait for Kawhi." But the Lakers were willing to take that risk and like, "Hey, Danny
Mhm.
Green, just hold on. We're waiting for Kawhi." But that's a risk you take, right? You have to go and tell Danny Green, yeah? And Danny's like, "Hey, I'll wait until I get an offer that's maybe better than." I forgot what we gave Danny. Did we give him like 230 or something like that?
Yeah, like 15 million,
Yeah,
I would say.
which actually for a starting caliber wing, that was like not bad actually for at the time. But again,
I mean, that was considered a
right,
premium for Danny
yeah,
Green. Yeah, we didn't get him on a steal
no, no,
contract,
we
that's for
gave him a,
sure.
a nice contract who we somehow flipped for Dennis Schroeder. So a little bit circle of life over here that's going on today. So yeah,
Yeah.
DeAndre Hunter to me fills into the we're willing to lose DeAndre Hunter. Now, what that bar is, I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
don't know where that stops. And that has to be a high bar because it's Giannis, right? And the interesting is, do you have a better chance at Giannis this year or Kawhi in 2020? I think that's an interesting question. There's reports that Kawhi was going to sign here, but everything that we've learned about Kawhi in the last in terms of his off-court dealings and all this type of
Yeah.
stuff tells me
He was asking for too
he
much.
was
Yeah.
never coming here. But in any
Yeah.
case, I don't know like how much closer they are with Giannis. Giannis could be a Laker in 6 months, or he can be on the Miami Heat in 5 days. Who
Yeah.
knows? What player is worth it? Is Michael Porter Jr. worth that risk of you can get MPJ or you can interesting question to me. To me, DeAndre Hunter falls a little bit, but you're a little higher on him than I am.
No, no, that's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, he's not a make or break. Like I said, if you feel like you have an inside track to Giannis, if he makes it to the Lakers, or if he makes it past the deadline, which is possible because I don't know what team is. Oh, we'll discuss that at a different time, well, offline. But like, if you think you have an inside track on him, then I understand passing up DeAndre Hunter. But Roger, there is nothing. Look, I understand they got the Luka trade, but even I know some of like on this pod, on the recording, as we're recording this, people are watching his live stream. I am saying we don't have inside information, but I get some
yeah,
information.
yeah.
And so, like, my thing is the Luca thing is a Luca thing. I understand how that came to be for the Lakers. You people can publicly offer whatever weight of applause to Rob Pelinka and whoever else. You ask Dallas Maverick fans, they'll just say Nico was an idiot and he basically did all the work for Rob
Sure.
Pelinka. And so, is that true? Is that false? I think there's some truth in some of in all of this sort of stuff. But knowing some of the inside machinations, I just don't have confidence in what that gamble looks like for Giannis. Am I saying we shouldn't do it? No. But I am saying that all of these expiring contracts, let me just put it this way. Dalton Connect is still on this team, Raj.
He is.
He's been on this team since the offseason. We tried to trade him last
We
trade
did trade
deadline.
him.
He's still on this team.
He is.
Like, if Dalton is on this team past this trade deadline, bro, I'm going to be genuinely disappointed. I'm going to be like, you couldn't find any place for him to go. You couldn't find anything to do with him. We're out of roster spots. Like, we have to create roster spots if we want to sign somebody on the buyout or if somebody magically becomes available. Like, I have to see of those four names, Rui, Gabe, Maxi, Dalton. I've said this to you in the chat. Two of those names can't be on this team past the deadline, or else I'm going to be really disappointed in whatever this team is doing. You've told me, hey, you should temper your expectations. You should temper your. I'm like, bro, I'm not tempering my expectations,
I'm saying
buddy.
you should not
Like,
hold your breath is what I would say.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want you to, breathe normally throughout this
yeah,
deadline. Look, I mean, they've been clearly tried to trade Dalton. I think Dalton has
yes,
not had the year that, they thought he might have a bounce back year, time away from that trade. Dalton's confidence just has not oozed anything that he had in that November time. And he's been in the league long enough now where he's no longer a shiny piece, right? Leagues know what he is. So you're not
hmm
getting anything of value for him. So Lakers are looking at it like, yeah, we could just give Dalton away, or he can continue to ride this bench and eventually, hopefully up his trade value in a way. JJ tried, played him in 6 to 7 straight games, did not work out,
yeah,
could not stay on the floor. It you keep saying having an inside track. In my opinion, like I'm again, we both get information, you know, in places. I don't think anyone has an inside track to Giannis's
fair.
camp. Now, there's people who have inside track to what the Lakers are thinking, which I think that
Mhm.
there's value in that. There's value in knowing what the Lakers are thinking. Inside track to Giannis's camp, I would be surprised how many people actually have a
Mm,
direct line to that.
mhm.
This feels again, you mentioned the Kawhi thing, and I think this feels so much like it because if you remember, if we go back, the Clippers followed Kawhi around for that year. Like that was not something where they just, oh, Kawhi's
Yeah,
available. Oh, we're doing 3 straight all-nighters and we're prepping. No, they knew his favorite color. They knew, you know what I mean? Like
yes,
they knew his favorite donut shop. We were talking about donuts before this started.
yes,
They knew his
we were.
favorite donut shop. Like they were deep into. Now, I
Yeah,
don't know how much prep we're doing for Giannis, but I hope it's somewhere in that vein of, hey, we can't just go, hey, Giannis, shiny LA Hollywood. You see the Hollywood sign? Like, you see, like, I
Yeah.
hope it's something deeper in terms of, hey, you're gonna be the most monstrous pick. You're the most monstrous pick and roll player in the league. You're gonna average 35 with Luka Doncic next to you and Austin Reeves next to you. Like, I'm hoping that's more of the
Yeah.
sell. We're going too deep on like the specifics, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think anyone's wrong in their thinking here. I understand why fans have the pitchfork. People have their why people have their pitchforks in the in the front. I think Luka has afforded, and this is what happens when you get a 27-year-old player. He has afforded the opportunity to look at things and go, hey, like, we're good. We're okay right now. We're 3 games back. People hate when I say this, but we're like 3 games back of the 2 seed, right? Does DeAndre Hunter
Yeah.
change our life against Houston? I'm not saying this is a correct process, Vinay. I'm just saying I think this is some of the thinking that goes into this. It goes, hey, does DeAndre
Yeah.
Hunter change our life against Houston, Denver, the Spurs? Probably not. And is it worth getting off? Is the opportunity cost of that worth getting off this ramp of potentially having flexibility to not only get Giannis, but whatever star is, disgruntled at the end of this
Yeah.
year? So yeah, someone in the chat just shared Bam and Giannis share agents. Like, great. Like, so sure.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't. I
Yeah.
don't think that really changes. I think Miami would go after him anyway. But again, I think Giannis would have to come out and say, I want to play in Miami. Has he done that? I think he came out and said he wants to play for the Knicks. I don't know if he still does. Who knows? But yeah, it's in a weird place. Again, I understand why people are upset. I try not to rile up fans online on the on the
Yeah.
timeline because I know it will piss them off if I say stuff like this. But I think there's a real world where, and at Pickup Hoop, one of our friends has kind of been
Yeah.
inkling at this of their interest could maybe in DeAndre Hunter could serve as something as they're kicking their cap space forward. That
Yeah, I mean that I think that's a very smart observation. That's quite literally what I think that they're trying to do too as well. Like, if you run into a situation where you actually do have to send out the
Mhm.
outgoing salary, at least you get a guy who's another expiring salary, not an absolutely awful player or something like that, that sort of thing. But go ahead, sorry,
No,
finish
no,
what
no.
you're
Yeah,
talking about.
that was pretty much like there was some thinking of their interest in DeAndre Hunter was kind of maybe portraying that they were kicking their cap space forward. That deal did not happen. So I'm
Yes.
continuing to believe that cap space, the can that we're kicking, is in a few months and hopefully not 12 months, which is another deadline. Um,
Giannis, I mean not Giannis, Raj. If he tries to do these shenanigans again, dude, bro, we're already at almost an hour 30, which is
yes,
normally our
yes,
cap because we organically match always talk an hour and a
yes,
half. I know we could go longer if this was a
yes.
different day. Bro, I could do 2 hours and I don't even have to relitigate the stuff that Rob has done, even in the past 3 seasons, to break down what this thing that people in the chat, our chat, lovingly call Rob Palinka's gimmick, like the gimmick that he likes to run. We won't get into that. But dude, I gave this analogy on Coach's Den when I was talking about it. If you think of your GM as a chef,
Okay, okay,
right? If you think of your GM as a chef,
okay.
the best chefs in the world, I don't know if you watch any of those chef shows
Watch some
like
Gordon Ramsay.
Chopped and stuff like that. Gordon Ramsay, like his shows, like, they'll give you a bunch of ingredients and it's a
Sure,
competition.
sure.
You got to
Hell's
make.
Kitchen. Mhm.
I'm gonna give you this ingredient, and then they give you like this mystery
Yes, yes.
ingredient, and
Oh,
then
yes,
you got
yes,
to
Chopped.
infuse this.
Yes. Love
Yeah,
that show.
chop
Yeah.
something, right? And then based on whoever's
Yes.
good, they do that. I like to think of GMs to some degree as like
Okay.
chefs, except there's no mystery ingredients, Raj. There's no
Mm,
mystery ingredients to the stuff that they have to work with. They have the salary cap. They have the player exceptions. The all the rules are all stated. The rules never change. They're all exactly the same.
okay.
And this is the analogy I gave on Coach's End. Rob strikes me as a chef where if I give him
Okay.
a carton of
Okay.
eggs, he only knows how to make eggs one way.
Gotcha. Is he a scrambled
He's
egg
either making
guy
them
like I am, or is it
scrambled
right?
eggs, maybe
Okay.
scrambled. Scrambled is usually the
Yes.
go-to. Everybody loves
Yes.
scrambled. I've never met somebody who doesn't love scrambled eggs. But in reality, Raj, the GM that you have has to be able to use those eggs in many
Okay.
different
Yeah.
ways. you have to be able to make them sunny side
Boil.
up. You have to be able to hard boil
Okay.
them. You have to be able to mix it up and put them in a cake, bake a cake. You have to use it for whatever chefs are listening to this. They're gonna be like, "Oh, Vinay doesn't even know half the stuff." But there's so many different ways that you can use a base ingredient like
Yeah.
that. The base ingredient for the Lakers is salary cap space, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a base
It's a
ingredient.
go-to.
And there's so many different ways you can use salary. So these other ingredients that we have, trade exceptions, making trades, working the rules around, blah blah. And then you get the extra stuff,
Yeah.
the the first round picks and all the other things that you can add, trimmings and stuff like that you can add to it. So all these GMs have so many different ingredients to work with that my concern is that Rob only knows how to cook one way. He only knows how to make one thing.
hmm
And the one thing he knows how to make is if I have a bunch of cap space, I could sign a bunch of dudes. I don't know if it's going to work out, but that's what I could do. So my thing is like, bro, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this thing where we have to reset our books in order for him to be able to do something because there's just too many GMs around the league that are doing. This is not going to turn into like again, I'm not here to litigate Rob's career or his job and stuff like that, but I'm just saying when I'm thinking about it moving forward, I have to like he has to be capable of doing something more because what's happening now, Raj, is we're losing transaction cycles.
Yeah.
You're essentially telling me that until I can get a zero balance or near zero balance on my salary cap sheet, every transaction cycle doesn't
Yeah.
matter unless somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, please, will you take this 26-year-old superstar off of my hands and make a deal that doesn't make me look completely
Yeah.
terrible?" So like that it can't be that way every
I,
time, dude. Like, and so
I,
that's my thing. Like,
I,
I need to know that we have something more.
I think
I want to eat something else.
I think that's all fair. You're saying Rob needs the fridge empty before he can cook anything else. What you're saying, right? The fridge has to be completely empty, even if there's
Yes.
ingredients in there. I think the backtrack of this, and we're almost at an hour and a half, but
Yeah.
I'm not in the cooking world at all. So
Me neither.
but I feel like there's a chef and there's like a super head chef who's like has to see over
Yeah.
everything. There's a sous chef, right? Chat can confirm or
Yeah. Sous chef is like I think the lower
right,
chef, and
right,
then there's a head
right. There's a
chef.
head
Yeah.
chef, sous chef, whichever it is that you want to place Rob in, go ahead. But Mark Walter has now entered the kitchen, Vinay, right? And so
Yes.
he
Please, Mark.
so well, hold on. Don't get
Uh-oh.
don't laugh too much. But Mark Walter has now come in, who has been in the kitchen for a while, right? He's been at the table, he's
Yes.
seen every ingredient that's come in. He didn't get to previously do the grocery shopping, but he was the one that was like looking and like, oh, this is what you guys do. Oh, you guys get your eggs from Costco. Okay, cool. Like this is where you get your sugar and stuff from. But now he's the guy that now he's the one that's in and gets to kind of decide what's going on. What I've said is, I think Palinka gets this deadline and the summer is what I would say, and that those are the two transaction cycles he gets. The 5 days that's coming up, he gets that one, and then he gets the one this summer to kind of complete his plans. Those are the
I
two that
agree.
I think he is allowed. And then after that, if he can't come up with, it doesn't have to be Giannis, I don't believe, but something that that has a semblance of this can
Mhm.
be a one seed dominant, championship contender, then I think you start hearing, the rumblings of his, seat start to be on fire. But I think this is not just him. I think this is a plan that is sold throughout the organization. I'd be shocked if this is something that Mark Walter has not given some type of go on of, all right, you're selling me on Giannis in 6 months, then you need to deliver that. Like that needs to be delivered. I now have Luca for 1.5 seasons, as you mentioned. And we'll see what happens this season. But the
Mhm.
the thinking is second or third round is probably the cap of this team right now. If that's the case, then I'm sure that's what he'll be judged on. But until then, Vinay, keep watching Bucks games and keep an eye on Giannis's strange comments that change every other day, where sometimes he's complaining that
So
he
bizarre.
doesn't get the
Yeah.
ball enough, that the team doesn't understand that the offense revolves around him. That other days he says I'm locked in as a Buck, and me and my agent are two separate entities, which is just not true. Whether that's said,
Heard that before.
whether that's in LA or Milwaukee, yes,
Anyways, we won't.
yeah,
But I will say this. Mark Walter is in the kitchen now.
yes,
I think Rob already gotten his strike one.
okay,
I think, to bring it back to the baseball analogies, I do think this transaction cycle is strike two. If it
mm,
doesn't,
yeah, that
if
matches.
he's willing to take the strike, let me put it: is he willing? If Rob is willing to take
He's
the
watching the
strike,
pitch come in. He's just like, yeah,
watch
let
it.
it.
I'm not. Yeah. If Rob is willing to take the strike, or whether he's unable to and it ends up being a strike, it will be strike
Okay,
two. And I am with you too as well. That the offseason will be his final
opportunity. Yeah,
pitch opportunity for him to get before it's strike three. I don't think that is. There's nothing about the way the Dodgers are run or what I've heard about Mark Walter that makes me think he has, especially now with Luca signing the extension. Um, that makes me think that like he has a long tolerance for
no,
shuffling chairs. The Dodgers did not operate that way. They were very
yeah,
quick to pivot in the direction that they needed to go to in order to be successful. Some of that stuff involved hard truths about players that, beloved Dodgers
yeah,
players, but it ended up resulting in them winning championships. So we'll see what that looks like, Raj. I am sure we are going to at some point have to pod again
yes,
before the trade deadline because we'll see if this trade results in more trades happening. Like I said at the top, I don't know if trades are going to happen for the Lakers specifically until the fourth, only
mm,
because I think they're going to wait for all those guys to come back. If it does happen, I will be shocked. I'll genuinely be shocked. But two of the guys that were linked to the Lakers, DeAndre Hunter, Keon Ellis, have moved on to different teams now. So we'll see what happens with the
so
Lakers
it,
and what the
uh,
situation is. Raj, any
yeah,
last
yes.
thoughts? Any last things? We got two more games.
That's what I
Tell
want to
me.
say. So you think if a trade doesn't happen on the fourth, the Lakers aren't trading anyone on the fifth? Is that what would you say?
No, no, no. I'm saying that I think the earliest that my guess is tinfoil hat.
Okay,
The earliest you will see a Lakers trade will be on February 4th if they
earliest,
make one.
got you. Okay, but you think there's an opportunity
Because,
that they would trade someone on the fifth with
yeah, on the day of the
okay
deadline for sure
with
before the
a
Sixers game. I
with a
think so.
game that night? Okay,
Yeah, I don't think Dalton's not in the rotation. Maxi's not in the rotation. You're playing the Sixers on the 5th,
yes,
so Dalton and Maxi are not in the
okay,
rotation. Those are two guys that could easily trade at any time.
okay,
I just think the professional thing to do is not do it while they're on the road. But those two guys can be traded anytime. Rui's a part of our rotation. Gabe, begrudgingly to the fan base, is part of our rotation too as well. I think they would probably not try to
okay.
trade them. But again, you're playing the Sixers on the 5th. They're not really like they just lost Paul George, who decided to take drugs and get
My
suspended
God,
for
what a
25
story! What
games.
a story! My goodness, crazy.
And so maybe the Sixers are still a good
Yeah,
team. Tyrese
Maxi.
Maxey is incredible. So VJ, one of my favorite players, favorite rookie to watch. So we'll see if they do it. I think the earliest if they make a trade would be very quick. I'd love to be wrong, but we'll see if
Y-
February 4th
y-
is the earliest they make a
Yeah,
trade.
Ryan makes a good point. The deadline is before the game, so it's gonna have to do
Yes.
your work a little early that day. But yes,
Bro, if that's an ESPN game, that's gonna be so nuts because there's gonna be so many people on ESPN. The Lakers didn't make a single trade. They've got Luka Doncic on the team. What are they thinking? They clearly need some
yeah,
help.
yeah,
It's gonna
it,
be
it
it's gonna be
it's gonna be
ridiculous.
insane. Like I've been pretty adamant about my stance that I just don't see anything really coming out until, or like I could see a minor move, being made of, keep forgetting the name, that the player in New Orleans that has been like Sadiq Bey, like I could see that.
Sadiq Bey.
But I don't think that moves. I don't think that gets a lot of motion in, as the kids say, online.
Sadiq Bey, who's that?
I think Sadiq Bey would like. I think that Sadiq Bey,
What's
would
his?
that count as a base hit for you? Vinay? Is Sadiq Bey a base hit? Is that we're on first? Like you gotta play.
I will say, okay.
Yeah.
I will say names that are base hits. I think Sadiq Bey is a base
Okay.
hit. I would have said DeAndre Hunter was a base hit.
I think DeAndre Jordan's like
I
a
would
double,
say,
but yeah, I would like
yeah, I would say if you can get Quentin Grimes from the Sixers, I think that's a base
okay.
hit. I think it's not going to happen probably until the offseason. But if Atlanta makes a push to grab Anthony Davis from Dallas and Onyeka becomes available from Atlanta, I think that's better than a base hit.
Okay.
Um, but if any of those names kind of become, I Sadiq makes sense because he's only like making like six
Yeah,
million
he's
next
on
year. Like it's a very negligible amount of money.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if Marcus Smart opts or DeAndre Ayton opts out and decides to go somewhere else, like that, it's not your cap space is still basically the same if you hang on to a guy like him. Quentin Grimes cap hold is not that extreme. Like if you add him, if his market is awful, he's going to be paid like around the MLE amount
Yeah.
if you decide to bring him back. Like again, like I'd rather just take a chance on those guys for 40 games of the season and say, hey, we like you. Luca likes you. We like the way you fit with the team. We'd like to bring you back. We've learned over these 40 games that you're helpful to the team. You know what I'm saying? Like I just prefer
Y
to do something like that. So
yeah. Well, no, I'll
don't
say, like, yeah, I think that's right. I put Sadiq Bey and Grimes in a little bit different categories. I think Grimes is a guy you would if you trade for him, you're investing in him as one of your guys going
yeah.
forward. I think Sadiq Bey, you can get him for this season very much like we traded for Reggie Bullock, right? We traded, I think, for in
Yeah, Reggie
2019,
Bullock,
which is
yeah.
kind of like, hey, we swapped Svi for a guy who's hopefully he would turn into later in his career. Reggie Bullock did not
Yeah.
turn out that way. Could not hit a three to save his life when he came here. But in any case, that was kind of that type of move. I see Sadiq
Yeah.
Bey in the similar manner where you can get him for probably a second round pick. Maybe you trade Dalton to New Orleans or whatever it is to kind of get him. But that's the kind of move I could see happening. But outside of that realm of the baseball park that we've been inside, I just don't see anything unless Giannis is traded, which we didn't talk about this, but I think the Portland thing is interesting, Vinay, of giving them their picks back. Like
Yes.
that is a really valuable thing I think for Milwaukee to be able to
Yes.
control their own picks. That's a really,
Yeah.
valuable thing that Portland can offer. But
I will say this. We talked about this in chat. We're already very,
sure,
very much
sure.
on time, Raj. So I'm not going to continue this. But I explained that, we were discussing this in the chat because you were asking what's the difference between Giannis' situation with the teams that are trying to get him in the trade deadline versus the teams looking at him in the
Yeah.
offseason. And the difference is that Giannis is 1 year closer to being expired.
Mhm.
If you are a team that thinks Giannis is going to opt out of his player option and you're okay with taking the gamble of him opting in or opting out because you can still trade him if he opts into his player option, Giannis stops looking like a basketball player for that team that's going to get him and starts looking at starts looking like an expiring salary to the teams that go after him. So a lot of people are looking at Giannis right now like, oh, I want to get him because he's going to help my team win a championship. But what happens in the offseason when the teams that are like the Cleveland Cavaliers or a team like the Houston Rockets or a team like I'm trying to think of other teams that already have like a
Spurs.
team like this Sacramento Kings or the Spurs, teams that have a bunch of young guys that they've already signed to their rookie
Right.
extensions that they're like, you know what, we just want to pivot away from this now. Like we're going to start a rebuild now. We're not going to wait 4 years to do it. What happens when they turn around and they go to Milwaukee and they say, "Hey, we'll take Giannis off of your books. Do you like any of these young guys? We'll send you." What happens if Houston says, "You know what? We don't think Alperen Şengün is the guy for us in the future." And what if Houston goes to Milwaukee and says, "You know what? We'll take the risk of Giannis leaving because maybe in their back pocket, Houston's thinking to themselves, we just want to get out of Alperen Şengün's
Yeah.
contract because if we can get something out of it, then great. But if not, it's okay." What happens when those teams start becoming the teams that want to be a part of those conversations? Now all of a sudden your competitive field changes.
Right.
Now it's no longer what team does Giannis want to go to because he gets to pick a situation. It turns into for the GM of the Bucks, it turns into, well, who's going to give me the best return?
Yeah.
So now the leverage is completely flipped. And so this is all GM salary cap
Y-
thought process stuff that's
y-
discussing. But yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
but again, then if you want to just go into the meeting and go, hey, we're in Los Angeles. There's the Hollywood sign.
Do you think that's what he does?
I
Do you
don't
think he's
I
just
don't
like Giannis,
I don't think
Giannis,
that I don't think that
the
I don't think that's
sun,
what he does,
the
but I do
beach?
think there's a level of like I think
We have In and Out.
yeah. And in and out, Giannis does love his fast food places. But no, I do think there's a level of when you're, I think the Lakers sell their branding better than any team in the league, and
Absolutely.
so that's 100% part of the branding, right? Luca came here and
Yes.
hopped off the plane, and I think they begrudgingly forced him to do the LA sign. Like that was kind of like,
All
yeah,
right, fine. I don't even know what this means.
Rui has adopted it. Does now has he has the LA sign. So I not joking here, but I hope there's a little bit deeper of a pitch to Giannis, but like these are the type of players the Lakers wait for historically. It would it'd be following in Kareem's footsteps of like won a
Oh,
championship in Milwaukee, decided it was time for sunshines and rainbows, and came over to the Lakers. He paired with Magic Johnson at the time, and Giannis has another really high level playmaker that is would be awaiting him here. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. I see some of the chat is pissed off that I've given the other side of the story, but that is the side of the story that I think is being told right now, and so
yes.
we'll see what happens in 4 to 5 days. If anything happens, maybe we'll go live on the 4th or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll find time. I think yeah, we'll find we'll do a late night one or
Yeah,
something like that. Oh, I mean, you'll be at the Sixers game, so we'll see what your
yeah,
situation looks like. But
day before.
Roger, you're an important person nowadays. You're
Yeah, no,
on everything that I see, and I see your post games, and I see the offside stuff that you're doing too as well. On the offside app, so that's also great. But you're in the building, and that's what I'm happy about, because you can be in the building, you can ask basketball questions, and we can
try.
learn so much from those things. So I appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody appreciates that. So, folks, we have done quite a lot today on different Lakers stuff. We talked about the Lakers, we talked about the DeAndre Hunter trade at the start, and then obviously we talked about Giannis and just this idea of how we approach the trade deadline in general. Um, we hope that you've enjoyed. We hope that wherever you guys are, we hope that when you're listening to this, we're hoping that you're having a wonderful day. I will get this up on Apple and Spotify for you guys to be able to play it back, or you can jump back on YouTube and replay it back too for yourself as well. But as always, folks, we hope that you're having a great time and you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. And if